Has been a very long time supporter of the Professional Loadmaster Association since at least 2008 and maybe prior to that. He's sponsored, I believe, nearly every one of these conventions that we've had. So him and his company, Airborne Systems UK, great sponsors, great partnership for this organization, and we really appreciate that. Like I've said before, his company sponsored the hospitality suites for the entire event, for the duration. I think you guys have all partaken in that, probably, right? Whether it was breakfast foods or adult beverages. So thank you very much for your support.
Thanks, Jason.
I was going to talk to you about his company, and thanks for being here.
Thank you very much. Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As Jason said, my name is Paul Braddock. Just to let you know, I've noticed over these many years I've been supporting this event that all the speakers, talk about, what they did before, and then, I'd just like to say, I'm not just a salesman. Before industry, I was in the military, just like, you guys, and I was in the British Army for 24 years. And I joined the Army at 16 to be a hovercraft pilot, believe it or not, because the Army owned the hovercrafts. I spent 2 years training, and at the end of it, they gave the hovercrafts to the Marines. I said, okay, what am I going to do? So they said, do you know anything about airdrop? And I went, no. So they said, well, because your qualifications and your military skills, we're going to send you to our air flying to work on C-130s. I didn't even know what a C-130 was. And I got there in 1978, and within a week I was flying around in Hercules, and that's all I've done for the last 40 years. Absolutely love it. It's been, the best part of, my adult life, really. And people seem to realise, you're Army though, why aren't you Air Force? But in the UK, the Army do aerial delivery. The Air Force, they supply the plane with the driver, but everything down the back is always the Army's responsibility. And I've been very fortunate that in my last job in the Army, I was known as a madman. In the British Army, there's only 5, you've heard of madman, the advertisers? British Army, it's a job, you're a madman. And there's 5 of us, we're master air dispatchers. And that's like the top of the tree, just like your chiefs here. So I was a madman, and my last job was in parachute testing. And what I was fortunate enough to be involved with the J model. So I did all the initial airdrops. In fact, we did the very first airdrop on the J model, and I was using, at that time, we had to use US furniture equipment, Type 5 platform, that kind of thing. So then I got employed with Capable Aerial Delivery Systems. And I worked with them for a number of years before joining my present company, Airborne Systems Europe. And Airborne Systems, and I'm not sure if you know the history of the company, but Airborne Systems is the biggest parachute company in the world. We have 2 big facilities here in the United States, and then we have a number of facilities over there in Europe. And we cover a whole range of parachute systems and aerial delivery systems. And I wasn't going to use my brief today to focus on one specific product. I'm not here, like I said, I'm not here to sell stuff. I just want to give you guys an overview because you guys are very important. You're the influencers for the people that actually procure this stuff. You're the guys down the back end. You know how things work and what's requirement. You know what the end user needs. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview on what we actually do and what we're all about. So moving on. Okay, this is all the industry stuff. We're actually based in South Wales. I actually live in England and I work in a different country every day. Kind of weird, but it's 90 miles away. So we're based in South Wales, and we were formed from a number of companies. Years ago there was like Urban Parachutes, GQ Parachutes. They all were merged together to come under Airborne Systems. And all the little small companies in Europe all got closed down and everything moved to South Wales. The reason why they went to South Wales was Europe at the time was giving away lots of money to invest into Wales, hence going to Wales. We have a number of locations over the UK and in Europe. Our main locations are based in, like I said, in South Wales. We also have a location in the east of England, where Airborne Systems is in charge of all the UK MOD's parachutes. So unlike the US where you have your own individual rigger units that pack parachutes, etc., everything in the UK is controlled through Airborne Systems. So we maintain everything, we repair, we pack, and we service it, and we send it out to the UK forces. But that's based in a different location. That's like I said, that's in the east of England, very close to RAF Bryce Norton, which I'm sure some of you have visited. More recently though, we've had to open up a facility in Toulouse, in France, because we're very much involved with the A400M programme. All the airdrop systems that are coming out of the aircraft, which we'll touch a little bit on in a minute, are being programmed through us, and we're part of the certification process for that aircraft. So I'm just going to talk about this. There's many divisions within Airborne Systems. Like I said, we have locations here in the US, but they tend to concentrate on space programs, missile programs, the tactical troop parachutes, so the squares, the intruder parachute systems, or the high altitude, low opening, that kind of stuff, all controlled here through the US. In the UK side, we mainly concentrate on basic round parachutes for the troops, what was the old T10s if you like. We have our own different versions in Europe, and aerial delivery systems. Our aerial delivery systems are global. But coupled with that, we make all the parachutes for the ejecting seats for the fighter aircraft. And of course, as you probably know, there's many different aircraft out there that use ejector seats, and we make systems for all of those aircraft, including the Lightning Joint Strike Fighter as well. So all those parachutes are made in the UK, sent out globally. And it's exclusively through, normally, Martin Baker. But we also work with Rockwell Collins as well, who were here yesterday. We do some stuff with them as well. We do a lot of helicopter equipment as well, specifically on the search air rescue stuff, and rescue equipment and harnesses and this kind of stuff. Also, on the commercial side, every time you get in an aircraft, every time you sit down, you put that lap strap on. We make all of those because AMSAFE is part of Airborne Systems. So we're out there, we're everywhere. But this is not the biggest part of our business, but it's a very important part of our business because being an island nation, we have to have rescue systems for down there crew and stuff. So we're very much involved with providing that nice support. On the personnel parachute side, within our aerial delivery system, like I said, we tend to concentrate on the round systems. So a lot of the low-level parachutes that you see are made by us, and we tend to concentrate more so on the, like I say, the European market. It's not a T10, but our round parachutes are specifically made that they can be dropped as low as 250 foot, which is quite unique. Can't use a reserve though. But saying that, last year I was in Oman, and this is a snapshot I took when I was on the drop zone. We dropped these guys in Oman, their special forces at 300 foot, and they got an entanglement. And they're the only force I know that actually still have a reserve at that low level. They banged out the low level parachute reserve that we made, and it actually worked. And there's two guys wrapped up in it, and they both walked away from the drop zone. Not a scratch. So that proves how good I believe our round system is. I think if you'd been on a T10 at that height, you would not have walked away, Anyway, going back to what else we do with the parachutes. Like I said, we have this facility in the UK where we maintain all the parachutes, personnel and cargo, and everything is run through our facility in Letchworth, in the east of England. We just won this contract again. I couldn't believe it or not. We've had this for years, and the MOD decided to re-tender it, and then we're going to give it to a French company. And luckily they saw sense that we couldn't have our parachutes being made in France, being serviced in France when we were about to leave Europe. I'm sure you've seen that in the news. This is going to be a bit of a problem downstream. So we won it back again, and now we're actually servicing parachutes, not only for the UK, but for other nations as well, in the UK. And this model is something that the US government's been looking at. So like I said, at the moment you have your own individual rigging units, and your lofts, your red hats and all this kind of stuff. But they're thinking now, should we have a more central location like the UK do? So they've actually come with visitors to see how this works. So it may be something that may be rolled out in the US government shortly, we don't know. And hopefully Airborne Systems US will pick up that contract, you know. Last year, I was invited to Huntsville, Alabama. You know Bob, who was here yesterday, the air cab guy? And we was having a chat about this. We was out in Huntsville. Because the US Special Forces out in Afghanistan were always stealing the UK's fast rope systems, because it's a much better system to what you currently have on the Chinooks. So we now make the actual fast roping system for the Chinook aircraft. And this has been rolled out across many nations. And it's quite a simple system, because you know, the actual fast rope frame, which you can see up here, it allows up to 5 ropes to be put out the back of the aircraft, which is kind of unique because everyone else only has 1. So you can have 5 guys fast roping, deplaning, whatever. And so this is now being rolled out to the US Air Cab, and it's also being rolled out to the Chinook community as well. And again, it's kind of unique that we've got involved with this, and it's going well. So you know, as well as working with Air Force, we're still doing other stuff. Anyway, this is the cool stuff. This is the airshot stuff. This is the stuff I really like. Airborne Systems make a whole range of airdrop platform systems, specific to land and marine systems. And I'll talk a little bit about each system as we go through the next few slides. The MCAD, which is the military, the maritime aerial delivery systems, you know, we operate from a whole range of different aircraft. Now these systems can be used with a whole range of boats. And most military boats now, when they come into service, one of the requirements that's always put down in the specifications for tender is must be airdroppable. So we get in with all the boat manufacturers and we make sure that all the hulls of these rigid inflatable boats can only fit our platform. And that's what that means. You can have one platform for a whole range of boats. You know, it doesn't matter who you go to buy the boat, it will always fit on our different systems. Okay? And it's very unique. Here in the US, our Privat system is being used just by the SEALs at the moment. But again, through NATIC and through AMC, we're looking at rolling out our platforms across other user units within the US military as well. But these platforms are used across the planet, and we'll talk about that in a moment. To show you a little film, I'm glad it's working, because last year when I gave this presentation, the films didn't work. So this is the US system we currently have at the moment. For some reason, I don't know why, the SEALs decided to have white parachutes. And they're supposed to be, you know. But anyway, most of this stuff has dropped over the horizon anyway, so. And this is the same thing from a Norwegian aircraft. Different boat system. The last one was a boomerang. This is a different boat system totally. And if you notice straight away, once the system leaves the aircraft, the boat is suspended under its own. And then the platform goes down under its own recovery barrier. And with these platforms as well, they are reusable, by the way. Okay, for training purposes, they have buoyancy chambers to allow it to float, so you can recover it. Tactically, you take the buoyancy chambers off, and it deep sits, so you know it's gone away. Here it is from the C-17. I think this is sequential. It's interesting. You're the only nation that uses the toe plate. No one else uses the toe plate. Anyway, out it goes. Number 1, extractor number 2. I'm sure you've all seen this kind of stuff in Type 5. So I go the 2 Fury bags, and then go the troops. Have any of you load masters done any of this stuff? You see, you've done the boat drops and all that kind of stuff. It's really good actually when you see the stuff go at the back. This guy on the right, they were a bit slower with the stick on the right. But the guy at the front there is a general. I think it's the first time he's ever run down an aircraft. You don't see it in this film, but when we had the whole sequence, he actually fell over. Anyway, so these are where where the boats are in service at the moment. They're in a number of places where they're currently being used for operations. And these are our, we call them our future customers, but they already use, some of these customers already use the equipment. Because it's becoming like a standard system. It's going to be used, rolled out throughout the aircraft community. It makes life a lot more simple. One system, one rigging system, one checklist, whatever you want to call it. Makes it easy for the customers. The thing that makes me laugh though is Brunei. I don't know if anyone's ever been to Brunei. It's smaller than Wiltshire. It's a tiny little country out there in the Far East. And they've got one aircraft and they want to drop these boats. Okay guys, but they have, and the reason why they want it is because of the oil platforms for the terrorists. So if they get hijacking or something like that, rather than rely on the British troops, which are now used to, they used to be in Hong Kong, but we used to look after these guys in Britain. They now have to look after themselves. So they want to have this capability. Okay, you want to buy it, we'll sell it. Not a problem. Now that's the maritime system, but we also do a lot of land systems as well. And there's a number of different platform systems that cover this. Now I'm sure you guys are very familiar with the Type 5 system, which has been around for many years. But to be honest, the Type 5 system is kind of old, it's antiquated. It's good, it does the job, but it's very difficult to maintain. The actual payload systems that go on the Type 5, as you probably know, it's very rigor intensive. It takes a long time to get a payload on the platform. Yeah, it's great to airdrop it, 2 minutes, done. But to rig it takes 4 hours. So our systems tend to be more focused on the end user, as well as you guys in the aircraft who are dropping it. What about the guys who have to rig this stuff? So we make this stuff a lot easier for the troops. And that's what I did for many years. And I got fed up sawing up EDM, gluing stuff, getting wood and cutting it, and all this kind of, what a load of nonsense. We want to get this stuff to be rapid. When you get a call out, you want to get your troops mobile as quick as you can. So we make our systems really quick to make sure you get away from this intensive rigging phase, so you can get the loads out to the aircraft, get the mobility guys, take it, and let's airdrop it. Let's get it done. So the two major systems we have is the medium stress platform and the new platform known as ATACS. And it's the Advanced Tactical Airdrop System. Initially, this ATACS system was brought in for the A400M, but it can be used in a number of aircraft. It comes in 108 or 88 inch, so you can use it in the smaller cargo aircraft as well. But the medium stress platform, the one you see over there on the right there, it's been around for many years. That platform was designed for the Beverley aircraft. I don't know if anyone remembers the Beverley. That came out in the early 1950s, and at the time it was the biggest transport aircraft in the world. So that one's been around a long time, but it's been modified and modified as each aircraft has come in. And even though it's an old system, if you like, it's been modified. The US government, we've just dropped these for the US. They're looking seriously at having this replaced in the Type 5. So you guys may see that system soon. If you haven't already seen it, those in the test and evaluation kind of roles may have already seen it, I don't know. But it's out there, but it is certainly going to be coming into the inventory with the US quite soon. And literally this platform, we call it the car and cage. It's a very simple system where once you put your vehicle on, depending on the all-up mass, depending on the number of parachutes you need, etc. It's so easy to rig. No EDMs needed because it has airbags. So your airbags absorb all the impact shots. Okay? so that it saves a lot of time. You can literally drive on, quick release straps, lash it down, put the parachutes on, which is the standard parachute system, you know, with the EFTC and all this kind of stuff. Works really, really well. Okay, so this is just like that's the main training load, if you like. That's just a ballast load, you know, just to do training with. But if you look at it, it's a very simple system. It has the main parachutes on top of the load, just like a Type 5. It has an EFT system. But one thing it does have that is totally separate is a TSLA, which we're going to talk about in a moment. The UK doesn't like EFTC because they've had, you know, and I'm sure some of you guys mentioned it, where the EFTC is released early. The last thing you want is deployment taking place inside the aircraft. The TSLA stops that from happening. And the guys from NATO have just been to see this system, and they're looking at getting TSLA on the US system. You guys will probably see TSLA, but I want to talk about that in a moment. Okay. Sorry, my screen's different to that for some reason. There we go. So that's what it looks like when it's actually deployed. So there's a Humvee there that we dropped just recently in Fort Bragg with the airbag system. US military absolutely love it. You know, it was myself and one other guy. We rigged that Humvee. It took us an hour. We loaded it in the aircraft. It took 15 minutes. You know, it was sitting there. There's only two of you. You know, we're not taking jobs away from people. We're just making things easier for the end user. Okay, and I'll show you a little video on this. I think it should be next. Sorry, this is just showing some the way the airbags are installed. On the MSP, the airbags are actually installed underneath the platform with a skid door system. So rather than roller pads, you have a door that sits on the roller conveyor. When it's extracted out the back of the aircraft, a timer's switched on, automatically mechanical timer. 7 seconds later, the doors drop and the airbags fall out. It's a simple system. We have the airbags. So I'll move on. This is just showing a basic load. I'll show you the film. Here we go. So these are the drops we've done recently over at Fort Bragg there. So it's the same system, an extraction parachute, pulls out the platform, main deployment, and then you see the skid doors drop and the airbag will fall down. It's an unguided system because you're dropping this between 450 feet to 1,000 feet, around that kind of height. So you don't need a guided system on this, okay? And you'll see in a moment, you know, we're actually very close to the actual IP on this. Standard G11s. Sorry, there's no sound, by the way. But you can imagine what it can sound like.
So Paul, this isn't dependent on the recovery system though, right? You could put a guided system on this.
You can put a guided system on it. If it was a single parachute, you can. The airborne systems, we do have huge canopies where you can have a single parachute. But because most of this stuff is, you know, mass resupply, it's going to, you know, getting that capability out there. You know, it's all unguided. You know, airborne systems make the guided systems, and they tend to be, you know, 10, 15 years ago, everyone wanted guided airborne. You know, J-pads and G-pads, that's what they wanted. Now, they're going back to this, the unguided.
Right.
What makes the bags inflate?
This is just literally, it falls, and there's these things here are on a piece of cardboard, and that cardboard is the weight that makes it drop. Underneath the airbag, you have a non-return valve, so the air is literally, you know, just flows in naturally, inflates the bag. And then on impact, you have a bursting patch.
Okay.
So the airbags reusable or are they one-time drop?
Reusable. All you have to do is replace the bursting patch. And that's literally a little rubber gossamer kind of patch. You literally cut it out and you put a new one in, just like a plaster, Band-Aid. You know, stick it on, you fold it up again, it's good to go. Yeah, you will get the odd instance where these things get torn. You know, drop zones are drop zones. They're not all, you know, perfect, you know. But that's fine, you know. But at least you can reuse the stuff, you know. We have to certify those airbags for a minimum of 25 drops each bag. Now, I spent 24 years in the army and I was still repairing airbags that were made before I was born. Okay? They are a good system. They're a simple system, and like I say, it's cheap, it's easy, it's reusable, you know. And particularly nowadays, believe it or not, you know, as a military, we've got to be environmentally friendly. You know, it's great because you're reusing it. You're not trashing stuff. You know.
Or do they have about the same energy dissipation as the honeycomb does?
Better.
Better. Okay.
Better. Because when you look at this, there's no EDM on this at all. You know,
Right.
All the shock absorption is taken up by those airbags.
Right. And the suspension on the
It
vehicle.
spreads it across.
Okay.
You can see the cardboard there. It's a cardboard that actually, you know, gives it that little extra weight to make the bags drop.
When the load exits the aircraft, how soon do the bags?
7 seconds. So all there is, there's a little static line.
Well, obviously, if it's a different altitude, it's going to be adjusted.
No. It's always set at 7. It's just a simple timer that's for 7 seconds. It's not set to altitude. It's just a mechanical stopwatch. 7 seconds.
And that timer's triggered from a lanyard or from inertia?
Once it's extracted out the aircraft, a trip switch is on a metal lanyard attached to the aircraft floor.
Yep.
That pulls, that stays in the aircraft, and that 7 seconds starts.
Right.
But you can imagine, now it would be funny, the Humvee, when it's airdropped, it's the fastest vehicle in the world. You know, it's out the back of the aircraft, you know, it's gone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So the bigger the load, the more airbags. Right?
Yeah, that's right. You have a maximum of 12 airbags, because that's for a maximum weight load. But if it's obviously, you know, lighter weight, you have less airbags.
What's the maximum weight load?
On this platform as it stands at the moment is 20,000 pounds.
4G11 Bravos, I think I saw
Yeah.
that. So, okay.
So it's
Is
a
that-
standard 4G11 jet.
Is that the heaviest that you've always brought by Friday?
Well, that's what the UK have. I know, you know, but with the new platform system we have called ATAX, that goes up to much bigger weights, 32,000 pounds. So it falls in line with the maximum weight of the Type 5.
Now, when that impacts there, what kind of damage control do you have in the airbag?
But like I said, it depends. If it's, you know, if it's a good drop like we see here on these trial drops, the airbags tend to be fine. You know, they might get a bit torn up. You do get the odd tear, which you can patch up. But you can, like I say, with these things, you can reuse them and reuse them. The only time I've actually seen total airbag trash was we did an exercise with the Italians in Sardinia about, I don't know, 20 years ago, I think it was. Every single platform got torn to pieces because the drop zone was like the surface of the moon. It was just terrible. It was just rocks everywhere. They didn't clear anything. You know, you had whole rocks literally going through the base of the platform. You know, but these things work fine. And like I say, it's a good system because it's reusable. You know, and that's what, you know, an EDM, you know, you don't have to worry about the EDM stuff. And we're making this system on the new platforms even easier to use. Because at the moment it takes 2 guys to install the airbags. On the new platform, it takes 1 guy, and I'll show you that in a moment.
So for recovery, do they have to remove the airbags before they can be put on the back of the truck and hauled back to the hangar?
No, you can. If it's a trailer, you just pick it up. The airbags. As soon as you put it on the vehicle that's taking it back to the the workshop or whatever, it just because they're already burst, they just collapse. Yeah, you can imagine just like it's a concertina effect. You know, it's just nothing there. There's no resistance because once it's bursted back, it's done.
I'm just trying to imagine a forklift coming in and scooping that thing and just tearing into these bags.
Well, we try and teach the DC recovery teams not to do that. Not to do that. And that's the problem. And that's where you do get most of all airdrop equipment. It's the DC recovery teams that tend to wreck the gear.
Yeah.
Because they, the troops on the ground, they want to, damn, bars open, let's get back to the navy, They don't care if they break it,
Well, was the airbags the same material as they use in the hovercraft?
It's very similar. It's like a vulcanized rubber system, and it's interlaced with steel wire rope. Very thin steel wire rope. It's like a spring almost, like a Severi effect. Think. But like I said, we've had the guys from Native have seen this, guys from 82nd Airborne, and and like I said, this is US stuff. This is not UK. This is what trials that we're now doing. So eventually, you guys will see this replaced in the Type 5. It may be 5 years, who knows? Maybe next year. It depends on the money and the drive from the end user. Certainly, the Special Forces want it because they're fed up getting on the drop zone and finding their equipment trashed. And they know with this system, it doesn't roll over like a Type 5 can do. Doesn't have a single point release. Every parachute has its own release. So, so the troops love it. They've been almost, 100% guaranteed that stuff's going to be serviceable from the drop zone. Sorry, yes?
How would you transport it back? Say you're using it for training loads, how would you transport that, put it back on an airplane and transport it back to your base?
What you mean from the drop zone?
Like you're in Washington State, you're Moses Lake, you want to get it back to McCord. How do you get it back on the airplane? Is it detachable? You have to put them on the platform and put them
No. These things, literally, when you're from the drop zone, you can pick it up with a crane or a forklift, put it on the back of a truck, and you recover it back to an aircraft. All you've got to make sure is that the airbags are tucked up again, and you close the doors, and it can fit straight back in the aircraft. You don't have to put it on a special pallet to transport it around. As long as you can close those doors. But even saying that, sometimes the doors get broken because the doors are actually made of wood. They actually spring back on a bungee. But if they get broken on the drop zone, which sometimes happens, fine, you actually just cut them away. But you can still put that platform back on the aircraft. Because you only need 2 rollers, you only need 4, you only need 2.
How much does the pallet itself weigh? How much does the pallet itself weigh?
The actual platform itself weighs around 1,500 pounds. It's very light. Because I say, two men can actually rig it. The side frames and everything, 2 men can pick it up and carry it around. The base is the heavy part. The base is around 900 pounds. The rest of it is all very, very lightweight. And that's the whole idea, because we want to have this stuff. So there's a lot of places when you go out to the forward mountain bases where you don't have the MHE equipment there. It's got to be manhandled, so you want to make it light, as portable as possible. Obviously, once it's rigged, you need MHE to get it on the aeroplane, but for the rigging phase, you don't need it. Now this one here, this is the new platform. It was initially brought in for the A400M. Now, we're one of the program leaders at the moment with Airbus. And we're doing a lot of tests and certification. I don't know if many of you have seen the A400M, but it's like a kind of small C-17, large C-130, turboprops, But they were looking at having a platform system that's, with the C-130, they have lots of problems with the C-130 floor, with bending moments and this kind of stuff. And they wanted to have a platform where they could position it anywhere in the aircraft without having to worry about bending moments in flight. And so we came with this platform, and it comes in a modular system, but it's 8-foot sections as opposed to 2-foot sections. So this was designed for that, and it's very easy, very quick to rig and position into the aircraft. It's made of really lightweight alloys. It's made of reusable equipment, again, no EDM. It has an airbag system which is different to the MSP. So I'll show that now, I'll put it to the next slide, but I'll come on to it. But it has a different airbag system, like a tape cassette. Do you remember the tape cassettes? I'm sure some of you don't. So you literally, you pick up the panel and you put in the cassettes, you close it, done. It's that simple. the airbag will automatically open once it leaves the aircraft. Okay, no timer systems, nothing. Okay, because it has a sensor on it. As soon as it leaves the aircraft, it will open. Okay. But also with the ATAX platform, it's designed to replace land and marine. So you have one system that does both jobs. Just by removing the top surface and replacing the superstructure, which again is lightweight, portable, easy, you can have it for the small rigid raiding crafts, for example. Very quick, very easy. Now, at the moment, the only user of this system at the moment, well, there's two users, UK and Germany. Okay, and it's so simple. Again, you can use it for tactical and training. If you want to sink it, you don't put these here are buoyancy chambers. Take them off, the thing will sink. And so it's a great easy system. This talks about the various rigging procedures. You can have it as a single module. You can have it joined together in larger boats. But this is what I'm saying. This is the man system. So there we are. There you can see that top panel. So you literally you push a button like you do in your car. With the bonnet opens or the boot opens. Up it comes, and in there you slot in your cassettes. Close it. Put the payload on and restrain it. And then put your parachute on. Simple, easy stuff. It really is. And this is what's going to. This is going to replace the Type 5. This is going to be out there. So the UK, we're testing it at the moment on the A400M. It's going to be rolled across other NATO forces because the A400M is going to be used by over 15 different customers at the moment. And this is what they want. They want something that's easy, cheap, reusable. Whereas the Type 5, we all know it's heavy, it's cumbersome, it breaks easy, you have to replace parts all the time. And I know that. I used to work for Pegwell, I used to make Type 5s. So I know this is a much better system. Because I was an end user once. So this is just showing the actual airbag acceleration profile. So you asked the question again about how does it go? Well, there's your top spider there. Now that's on impact. Normally for that you would need a stack of EDM this big, and you wouldn't reach that. You've already bent the Humvee chassis. Now, and those in the airdrop world, as you know, you see these vehicles, they use the same vehicles again and again for airdrop, because they don't want to use, because it's already broken. They will crap off the drop zone. They can't drive stuff. You don't get that problem with the ATAC system and the MSP airbag. But this is Europe. EFTC. No one likes EFTC. They have a tendency for the actual what do you call it? The actual clam cell, latch assembly, to come loose, and you could start the deployment sequence inside the aircraft. And that does happen, and that just happened most recently in Saudi Arabia. Okay, nearly took out the airplane. So what we have to fit on in Europe is a TSLA. Now this here is a separate safety system to ensure that no deployment can take place inside the aircraft. Yes, I know you have your EPJS, but that's just your extraction parachute. You can still get deployment after jetson the extractor bin. If you've broken those locks, that load's going to go, isn't it? It's not going to stay in the airplane. So we fit this in, and it's a link that's between the EFTC, the EPJS, and the platform. And it ensures that no deployment can take place. Okay, because this link here literally prevents that deployment line from actually starting that process happening. And in Europe, you have to have it. Airbus will not certify an aircraft platform unless they can ensure that the aircraft, if it leaves the aircraft in malfunction, so be it, and nothing's going to happen inside the aircraft. I'll just move on a bit. So there it is in place. So once it's actually in line with the EFTC, you've got that normal extraction force happening, the platform's extracted. However, should the actual platform break loose from the locks, which is rare, but it happens, There's no way that extraction parachute can start that deployment system until this has left the aircraft. Okay, because once it leaves the aircraft, it has just again a mechanical wheel that rotates, and then as soon as it's left the aircraft, it'll either totally pre-min or it'll just deploy the extraction parachute. It goes down under extract. Whatever, you've got to get a malfunction. But at least the aircraft and the aircrew can go home and sleep that night. And again, it's a system the USA are looking at. They think that's much better than the EFTC. It's safer. And that just shows it there in line. Sorry, I got that one. And that's just showing it where it's fitted to different systems. So it's on the Pribad platform, PureBad platform, and the MSP. It looks like there's a whole lot of metal down there. At the end of the day, it's there for your safety, it's there for the aircraft's survivability, and it's going to, you guys will see this soon, believe it or not. It's out there.
Does it have to use EPJS?
You don't have to use EPJS. You know, this shows it with EPJS fitted because that's what the UK has. But you can literally have the actual TSLA fitted direct to the EFTC. It's up to the end user. And then also, as well as, I've spoken about our products and our aerial delivery equipment, we do a whole range of different programs, different engineering, tests and support. Like I said, at the moment we're very much involved with A400M. We're also working with KC390, more so on the procedures for airdrop, not so much in the avionics side like what Connors was talking about yesterday. But we do all kinds of stuff, And we employ a lot of ex-military. So, when you guys think, like you guys said, there is a life out there from the military. So you think of Airborne Systems US, send in your CV, you never know. Okay? So anyway, that's my little presentation. Hope it's been okay for you. And any questions?
Well, question on the doors that open up with the airbags. Obviously, they're in between the rollers, right?
Yes.
And what prevents them from staying secure until it exits the aircraft?
Right. On the MSP, they're held. The airbags are held in place by two skid doors, okay, which are held up in place by drop arms. And those drop arms, that's the 7 seconds. It's the drop arms that control, the release of the doors. So once it leaves the aircraft, the 7 seconds starts. The drop bars, they're the ones that fall out. Then the doors literally just, because they're actually held up by bungee, they just flip out. The airbags just drop.
Are the doors perfectly flush with bottom?
Yes. Yes. So on the MSP, you only need 2 rollers. You need the rollers on the outboard.
Right.
On the ATAC system, if you want the 4-track roller, yeah, you can use the 4-track roller because we designed the airbags with the cassette type. They don't have cardboard. They have an aluminium run. That runner is like a roller pad. So that goes onto your inboard roller system.
In all your tests, did you ever have any malfunctions of the doors?
No.
Just
I can sincerely say we've never had any problems with the doors. It's just simple stuff. It's made up of elastic, wood. It's not high tech stuff. It's simple and it works every time. Unless you rig it to fail.
well, that's
And the
part
airbag
of it.
system has been fielded for some time, right? But that's not new, the airbags?
Those airbags have been around since the 1950s.
Right, okay. I want to make sure.
And that's why I said, when I was a young rigger, and I'm rigging this stuff, I'm looking at the date of manufacture of these rubber bags. I'm like, yeah, and I laugh, yeah, my dad's got one.
Right. Okay.
But anyway,
All right.
thank you very much.
There's probably a lot of other questions out there, I know, but we're obviously against the time crunch here. But Paul's around all weekend, so Get them in a corner, buy them a beer, and ask them all the questions you want.
Just go to R12.
Let's break for 10, and then we've got Chief Swinson up next.
Yeah.